I never thought I'd see my personal life turned into clickbait. Yet there I was, scrolling through my feed, when a familiar face popped up on my recommended videos. My ex, smiling into the camera. Tear-streaked makeup carefully, smudged for dramatic effect, the title. He left me for someone else, my breakup story. At first I thought it was some kind of joke. Maybe she was telling a generic story and using a clickbaity headline. But no 2 minutes in, I realized she was talking about me, about us, about a relationship that had ended quietly, with mutual respect, or so I thought. Except, in her version, I was the villain. She said I was cold, unfaithful, emotionally absent. She painted herself as the brave survivor of a toxic relationship, healing in front of her audience while cashing in on sympathy and likes. The video had over 200,000 views in just 3 days. The comments section was flooded with strangers calling me every name under the sun: narcissist, cheater, manipulator. People I'd never met were writing paragraphs about what a terrible person I must be and how lucky she was to escape. My phone buzzed with texts from friends. Some asked if it was true. Others laughed it off, telling me she was clearly exaggerating for clout. But all I could feel was this gnawing anger that she had rewritten history so carelessly, turning my silence into her platform. Because here's the truth. I never cheated. I never lied. I gave that relationship 3 years of my life, and when it ended, it was because she wanted more excitement, more attention, more followers. She said I was too stable, that life with me wasn't dramatic enough. And now, I realized, she had found the drama she craved by inventing it. The worst part, it was working. She was gaining followers by the thousands, basking in the glow of sympathy, building herself up on the ashes of our relationship. At first, I considered ignoring it. Let her have her little narrative, I thought. The truth doesn't need defending. But then, a coworker pulled me aside. "Hey man, I saw that video. Didn't know you were like that." His voice carried a mix of pity and judgment that made my skin crawl. That was the moment I knew silence wasn't an option. She had made me the villain in her story, but she had underestimated me. She thought I'd sit back, embarrassed, while she profited off lies. What she didn't know was that I had receipts, messages, screenshots, even old videos that painted a very different picture. And if she wanted to play this game in front of an audience, then I would give them the real show. The first thing I did was watch her video again, this time with a notebook open. Every accusation, every fabricated detail, wrote it all down. She said I left her for someone else. She said I drained her emotionally. She even claimed I used her money when in reality, I had paid most of our rent while she spent her income chasing content creator dreams. As I watched, I couldn't help but notice how polished it all was. The fake tears, the carefully placed pauses, the sad piano track in the background. It was less a confession and more a performance. She knew exactly how to make strangers side with her. But here's the thing. While she was playing the role of heartbroken victim, I had the unedited script. Screenshots of her late-night texts to other guys, while we were still together, receipts from times I covered her bills, messages where she had admitted she wasn't ready for commitment and wanted to see what else is out there. I opened a folder on my laptop and began organizing everything. Every lie she told in her video had a corresponding truth I could prove. The thought of posting it gave me pause. I'm not a drama person. I don't chase online fights. My life has always been more private. Part of me wondered if I was stooping to her level by even considering it. But then, I remembered my coworker's tone, the looks from friends, the whispers that had started circling. She hadn't just lied. She had dragged my name through the mud for clout. If I let it slide, her version of the story would become the story. That night, I called my best friend Mark. He's the type who doesn't sugarcoat anything. I laid it all out for him, the video, the lies, the evidence I had. "Man," he said after a long silence, "she played you, and now she's playing the internet. You've got 2 options. Walk away and let her eat off your name, or hit her with the truth." And honestly, I think the truth will burn hotter than anything you could make up. His words stuck. I wasn't interested in revenge for the sake of revenge, but I was interested in the truth, because she wanted sympathy points. But the receipts told another story, one where she had been unfaithful, manipulative, and constantly chasing attention. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't about sinking to her level. It was about reclaiming my own narrative. She wanted views, fine. But she was about to learn that the internet doesn't forgive liars once the mask slips. I sat down at my desk, turned on the camera, and hit record. If she wanted content, I'd give her content. I sat in front of the camera, the glow of the desk lamp casting a calm, steady light across my face. No background music, no fake tears. Just me, speaking plainly. Hi, I usually keep my life private, but since my name is already being dragged around the internet, I think it's only fair to share the truth. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't sound angry. If anything, I spoke the way I would in a conversation with a friend, measured, clear, direct. Laid out the facts. She says, I cheated. Here are our messages, time-stamped, where she admitted she was talking to other guys behind my back. She says I drained her emotionally. Here's a video she posted just months ago calling me her biggest supporter, the one who encouraged her to chase her dreams. She says I used her money. Here are the receipts, months of rent payments, utilities, groceries, all from my account. I didn't embellish. I didn't call her names. Simply showed the evidence one piece at a time, letting the truth speak louder than any performance could. Then I ended it simply. Relationships end. Sometimes it's mutual, sometimes it's messy. But rewriting history for clicks and clout crosses a line. Believe what you want, but the receipts don't lie. This is my side, and it's the truth. When I hit upload, I wasn't sure what would happen. Part of me expected indifference, maybe a few supportive comments from people who already knew me. What I didn't expect was the tidal wave. Within hours, the video spread. People who had seen her tearful monologue started linking mine in the comments, pointing out the contradictions. Screenshots I shared began circulating on Twitter and Reddit, where entire threads dissected her lies. By the next morning, the tone had shifted. Where her video had once been filled with sympathy, now it was packed with backlash. So you lied about him cheating, one comment read. Girl, you had us fooled. Another said, imagine ruining your ex's name just to get views, and then getting exposed like this. Her followers started dropping. Fast. What had been a steady climb of new subscribers now turned into a nosedive. Screenshots of her follower count going backward became memes overnight. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with texts. Friends who had doubted me sent apologies. Coworkers who had looked at me sideways now congratulated me for handling it with class. Even people I barely knew messaged me, saying they respected how I'd presented myself, calm, factual, no mudslinging. I hadn't planned it this way. But the contrast between her dramatics and my straightforward delivery made her look even worse. She wanted to play the victim, as she looked like the manipulator, and I knew she'd seen it because she went silent. No posts, no stories, no responses. For someone who lived online, her sudden quiet spoke volumes. It took 2 days before she finally broke her silence. I was at work when my phone buzzed with notifications she had gone live. Against my better judgment, I clicked in. There she was, sitting in front of her ring light, looking far less put together than usual. Her voice shook as she launched into excuses. I exaggerated. You know how storytelling works online. It wasn't meant to hurt him. It was just content. But the chat wasn't buying it. Comments scrolled faster than she could keep up. So you admit you lied? Girl, he showed receipts. You built a platform off false sympathy. Her hands trembled as she tried to spin the story, shifting blame onto toxic internet culture and pressure to make everything a performance. She even tried to hint that I was manipulating the narrative. But every time she grasped at a defense, viewers countered with facts pulled directly from my video. By the end of her live stream, thousands had tuned in. And the general consensus was clear. She wasn't just a liar. She was a fraud. That night, her social media numbers dropped even harder. Sponsorships she had bragged about suddenly vanished. One brand even posted a statement distancing themselves, saying they did not condone deceptive practices. The fallout spread beyond the internet, too. Mutual friends who had taken her side called me, their voices dripping with regret. Man, we had no idea. She made it sound so convincing. I didn't rub it in. I just said that's why I spoke up. The next day I got another message, this time from her. It was short, desperate, and completely different from her public tone. Can we talk? Please. Off camera. I stared at the text for a long time. Part of me remembered the woman I'd once loved, the person I'd spent years with. But then I remembered the video, the lies, the way she casually turned my life into a spectacle for her gain. And maybe that silence hurt her more than any carefully worded clapback could, because the more she tried to fight back online, the more she came across as hollow. She was scrambling, defensive, panicked. I was calm, silent, grounded. The contrast became the story itself. Commentators started making side-by-side videos, her dramatic claims versus my steady receipts. Influencer exposed for faking breakup story. She had built her brand on relatability, on being the girl who tells it like it is. But once the mask slipped, nobody believed a word she said anymore. And me? I didn't gloat. I didn't post a victory lap. I simply went back to living my life. The truth had already done its job. The silence between us stretched for days, though online she was anything but quiet. Every morning I'd wake up to another dramatic video or half-hearted apology pinned to her socials. One day she was defensive, the next she was tearful, the next she was back to calling herself a victim of cancel culture. Her followers, once rabidly loyal, were vanishing in droves. The few that stuck around weren't defending her, they were demanding answers. Screenshots, timelines, proof. When she couldn't provide any, the criticism only grew sharper. Then the brand partnerships dried up completely. One by one, the deals she had flaunted were quietly dissolved. The travel company that once sent her free vacations publicly announced they'd terminated her contract. The wellness product she promoted every week on her page scrubbed her posts from their feed. She tried pivoting, cooking content, lifestyle vlogs, healing after heartbreak podcasts. But the views were dismal, and the comments section reminded her of what she'd done. No matter what angle she attempted, people saw through it. By the second week, the fallout started bleeding into her personal life. A friend of mine sent me a screenshot of a group chat her old circle of influencer friends had quietly kicked her out. They were afraid association with her would tank their own reputations. She wasn't just losing numbers on a screen, she was losing people. And then, she did the thing I knew she would eventually do. She tried to use me one last time. Late one night, my phone buzzed with a message. I know I screwed up, but can you just make a statement? Tell people you forgive me. Help me fix this, please. I stared at those words, the weight of them sinking in. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted credibility. She wanted me to lend her the one thing she no longer had. Truth. For a long minute, I considered what to do. A part of me wondered if I should take the high road, offer her some public grace, end this chapter cleanly. But then I remembered. She had already rewritten our history once. If I gave her even a sliver of cover, she'd twist it into something it wasn't. So I didn't answer. The next day, she doubled down in a new video. And this time she framed it like we were working things out privately, that she had talked to me and I was still supportive in my own way. It was a bold, reckless land. It backfired instantly. Because within an hour, I posted a single screenshot, the message she'd sent me begging for a public statement. Nothing else. No captions, no commentary, just her words. And it was the final nail in her coffin. Her remaining followers turned. The betrayal was complete, undeniable. She hadn't just lied once, she was still lying, even in her so-called apologies. Her empire, the one she'd built on curated truth and manipulated narratives, crumbled right there in front of everyone. And for the first time since all this began, I felt something close to peace. It was a quiet Sunday morning when the knock came at my door. At first I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened it, there she was. No makeup, no styled hair, no ring light glow softening her edges. It's just a tired, broken version of the girl who had once turned our breakup into a headline. Her eyes were swollen as if she hadn't slept. "Can we talk?" she whispered, her voice shaky. For a second, I just stood there, stunned. This was the first time I'd seen her in person since everything unraveled. I stepped aside, and she walked in slowly as though the weight of the world clung to her shoulders. She sat on my couch like a stranger in a waiting room, clutching her phone but not daring to unlock it. "I've lost everything," she said finally, staring down at her hands. "The sponsors, the followers, my friends, even Chris stopped talking to me." Her laugh was bitter. "Turns out people only want you when you're shining." I didn't say anything, just let the silence stretch. It was the first honest moment she'd had in months. Then she looked up at me, tears spilling over. "I messed up," I shouldn't have lied. I shouldn't have dragged you into it. I didn't know how to stop once it started. And now, I don't know who I am without all of it. Her words hit me, but not in the way she expected. There was a time when I would have rushed to comfort her, to remind her of her worth, but that time was gone. She hadn't just hurt herself. She had weaponized our relationship, my life, for clicks and views. I get it, I said quietly, but you made choices. And every choice has a price. This is yours. She flinched, as if my words cut deeper than I intended. So that's it? You won't forgive me? I leaned back, folding my arms. Forgiveness isn't the issue. I don't hate you, but I don't trust you either. And without trust, there's nothing left. Her sobs filled the room, raw and unfiltered. No camera to angle her tears, no audience to comfort her. Just reality pressing down. After a few minutes, she wiped her face and stood. She looked smaller somehow, as if the persona she had lived behind had finally crumbled completely. I guess I deserve that, she whispered, heading for the door. As she stepped outside, she turned one last time. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm sorry I realized it too late. And then she was gone. I closed the door gently, feeling a strange mix of relief and closure. She had lost her platform, her fans, her fabricated story, but what I gained was far more valuable. My peace, my dignity, and the knowledge that sometimes the truth doesn't just set you free, it exposes everything false around it. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.